Hey everyone, this is Linda Monroe. I am the director for the PC Dream Team, and I'm so excited to talk with you a little bit about sending out some booking messages. So anytime you don't have as many bookings on your calendar as you would like to have, what you're going to want to do is head on Facebook and send out some messages asking people if they're interested. Now, this can feel super scary, and I totally understand that, but I just want to encourage you that there are people who want to partner with you to do a party. We just need to reach out to them and find them. So the first thing that you want to do is grab something to track with. You want to be keeping track of all of the people that you've asked and how they've responded. This is going to let you know how many people you need to ask to get the amount of yeses that you want. So for some people, every 1 in 10 people will say yes. For some rock stars, 3 in 10 people will say yes. But what's interesting is your pattern will likely continue. So if you know that you want 10 parties booked and you get 1 yes for every 10 people you ask, you've got to ask 100 people. And I know that sounds like a lot of people, but so many of you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of friends on Facebook, so I know you won't have a problem with this. The second thing that you want to do is identify where you're going to start. If you have a really viable VIP group, you have a cooking group that you have some people in, that's probably going to be your best bet to getting started, because we already know that they're interested in Pampered Chef, that they like to cook, and hopefully if your VIP group has been active, they're getting to know you and growing a desire for some of the products that you're showing off. That's a really good place to start, but you can also move into your Facebook friends list. And the way that I organize this, because there's so many people that I'm friends with, there's so many people in my VIP group, that I will actually just go to the search bar and type in the letter A or the letter Z if I want to do it backwards, and just go through the list of names that pops up under A. And then when I've done that, delete A, type in B. You'll notice that there's no rhyme or reason as to the names that show up under some of these letters, but it doesn't matter. So just work through the alphabet and you'll have plenty of people to ask. One of the things I just want to make sure that you don't do is prejudge. Try not to skip over people, especially men. Everyone is a candidate to host a party, right? Whether it's someone you don't know very well, someone that you know super well, guys, girls, people in their early 20s, people in their late 80s, you just don't know unless you ask. And I would hate for you to see on someone's Facebook wall, I'm hosting a Pampered Chef party, and you didn't ask them because you didn't think they'd be interested. That's one of the biggest pains that I've experienced, because I prejudged and didn't think someone would be interested when in fact they would have been interested. So it's no harm if they say no or no thank you. That's not causing any physical pain. It's not causing them any physical pain. It's just that we don't know unless we ask. So please don't be afraid to ask everyone. Another place that you can look for people to host is going to be your past host list. If you've been a consultant for 6 months or longer, this is actually the best place for you to start, because you've already hosted with them. They know your style, and likely you've gotten even better as a consultant. So they're going to have an even better experience with you this time than they did last time. So I would really encourage you to start here, and I'll help you with some words to say with past hosts. But yeah, anyone who's hosted 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, doesn't matter. They're great people to ask. So put them at the top of your list if you haven't already. So before we talk about what you're going to say, I just want to take a moment and share what to never say. I don't ever want you to start a message with, "Hey girl." I think that we've all received those messages, and I am guilty of even sending those messages years ago, back before I knew better. So please don't make that mistake. You want to take the time and type out their name and make it personalized to them. You can copy and paste the rest of the message, but please start off with a "Hey Susie" or whatever their name is. Let's talk about what you're going to say. My recommendation for you is that you keep it really short and sweet. Don't make them read any more than they already have to in their day-to-day life. Make it to the point. Don't try to start a conversation with them and then like roll into asking them to host a party. People don't like that. They feel like it's disingenuous. So please just get to the point. I'm going to help you with words to say so you know just what to do. You can say something like, "Hey Susie, I'm hoping you might be interested in hosting a Pampered Chef party with me. They're really easy and my hosts get rewarded pretty well. April hosts even get an additional $100 to spend on any products they'd like. Are you interested?" Of course, you're going to want to insert whatever special you have running for the month. But yeah, it's that easy, that short, that sweet, to the point, something that they can easily respond to. If you're asking a past host, you might say something like, "Hey Susie, it's been about 6 months since we did your last party. We've got some great new products and recipes, and I'd love to do another party with you. Your last one was so much fun. What do you think?" Right? So right to the point. It also helps them remember how long it's been since their party. Sometimes like it's been 3 years and they're like, "Oh my gosh, has it been that long?" So it's always good to include that information so that they can pace it in their mind themselves too. Now let's get into the tracking part of this. Guys, I cannot stress enough how important it is that you are tracking. In fact, if you're going to your director and you're saying, "I messaged a bunch of people and no one wants to do a party," probably the first thing that your director is going to ask you is, "How many people have you messaged?" And this really allows us to look at the numbers with you and just make sure that everything is normal and not out of the ordinary. And if it does feel like you're having a little less success than we think you should be having, we can go in and help you, but we just don't know if it's normal or if it's not normal unless we have the data. And so this is really going to help us. But also, this is just going to help you keep track so that you can write down your responses, get your ratios, like we mentioned in the beginning. And also, it's going to help us to circle back in a day or so. Over the next 12 hours or so, you're going to get responses back from the people that you've sent messages to. About half of them are going to respond, so don't be freaked out if not very many of them respond. I'll get to that in just a second. But the ones that do respond, you're either going to get a yes with a later, which you want to mark down as a follow-up in June or book, and you can even turn that into a booking if they say, like, April just doesn't work for me, but I might be able to do something in June or July. You still want to get a date for that party by saying something like, "Hey, would the first week of June work for you?" We can always move it if something more important comes up. So try to get that on a specific week for your virtual parties or a specific day if you're doing in-home parties, because it's a lot easier to move a date than to like chase someone and try to get a date, especially when they're feeling busy, right? So you definitely want to try to reserve that, even if it's in December, right? And it's like January. You just want to get a date scheduled. If they say yes, you still want to get a date right away. You want to say something like, "Great, would this week work for you?" And I try to offer my first available week to them, as long as they have a couple of days to, properly set it up and do the inviting process. But you'll want to offer them your first available date first. And if that doesn't work for them, they're going to say, "Hey, that week actually is when I'm on vacation. Could we do this week instead?" And just work with them until you get something penciled in. Some of the people are going to respond with a no or a no with an objection. So there's basically two types of no's that you're going to be working with. A no or a no thank you in my book is a no. They're not interested, and that's okay. Not everyone wants to host parties. That doesn't mean that they don't want to be a customer or get great content from you. So be sure to direct them into your VIP group, or at least offer that link to them. Or if they're in your VIP group and that's where you got the booking content, just invite them to keep enjoying the content, right? You might say something like, "I totally get that this is not everyone's thing. Thank you for responding. I hope that you'll enjoy the content in my VIP group." You can include the link if you're not sure if they're in it or not. If they are, same thing, just say, "I hope that you'll continue to enjoy the content in my VIP group." Now, the second type of no is where things get a little bit tricky. And I want to encourage you that you can always reach out to one of your directors or your recruiter for help with this step. So anytime someone says a no with an objection, we have an opportunity here to turn it into a yes if we offer the proper conversation. So what is a booking with an objection? Well, you've heard these before, I'm sure. It sounds a little bit like, "No, I just don't have the time," Or, no, I've done these before and they've never been very successful. So they state no, but they give you a reason why that's a no. And sometimes it's just them wanting to do one, but having a concern or like something that they're worried about that we can help address, and maybe they might be more interested once they have more information. Here's how we're gonna navigate that conversation. I want you to construct a response, and your response is going to have 3 parts. The first part, you're gonna acknowledge their concern. The second part is you're going to offer a solution. And the third part is you're going to ask again. The first part, we don't ever want them to feel like we're not acknowledging their concern or that we're just dismissing what, is troubling them. All you need to do is say something like, I'm so sorry you haven't had success with these before. Or, I've definitely had busy seasons myself, so I totally understand that. If you don't do this part, the rest isn't going to work. So we've acknowledged their concern. The second step is going to be offer a solution, right? So we're going to just give them a little bit more information that might help them feel more confident about booking a party with you. This might sound like, I'm able to reserve dates within the calendar year to help hosts find a time that works well for them, right? So we can do something later this year. Or you can say something like, well, you've never done a party with me, and I'm confident you'll have a positive outcome with your party, and you'll even get a 10% discount for a whole year just for giving it a try. We've acknowledged, we've offered a solution, and then the third part is going to be ask again. The big reason why you want to make sure you end with a question is if you don't, they don't really have anything to respond to. And so if they don't respond and you've just thrown that out there and you haven't asked a question, then the conversation just gets a little awkward. So you definitely want to make sure that you ask again and just throw the ball back in their court. And so that might sound something like, would you like to pencil something in for later this year when your schedule is lighter? Or you can say something like, would you like to give it a shot with me? I promise you're in really good hands. So let's put this together. So let's say someone says, I just don't have the time right now. It's really busy. So I might say something like, I totally get that. I've had really busy seasons myself. I do offer to reserve dates throughout the entire calendar year. Would you like to reserve a week later on that will work better for your schedule? Right? So that's what that sounds like. Or if they say, no, I've never had success with these before, so I don't think I'm interested, I might say something like, oh, I'm so sorry that you haven't had success with these parties in the past. You've never done a party with me though, and I feel really confident we can give you a great outcome. And we'll even give you 10% off for an entire year just for giving it a try. Would you like to give it a whirl? Right? So something like that is just going to offer another chance for them to say yes. From there, they're probably going to say yes or check in with me in a couple months, especially if it's the timing problem. And sometimes they're going to say, no, I'm just not interested, or no, thank you. That is totally fine. And then you just go right back into, I would love to have you in my VIP group where I can offer you great cooking tips and kitchen inspiration, right? So that is just a really well-rounded conversation that's going to give you a lot of results. Now, after about a day, so maybe you sent them out after work yesterday and it's after work today, what I want you to do is I want you to pull out your tracker again, because what you're going to notice is that sometimes people respond to you when you're, out at the grocery store or when you're checking your kids in and you respond really quick, but you're not near your tracker. So you definitely want to make sure that you update your responses, right? And just kind of keep track. Okay, I asked 20 people yesterday. I got 3 bookings. I got 2 follow-ups and no one else responded, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at those no responses. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever received a Facebook message and you were in line at the grocery store waiting forever for it to be your turn to put your stuff on the cart or on the carousel, and then all of a sudden it's available, and so that you put your phone, you throw it in your purse, and you start loading the groceries and onto the conveyor belt, and then you get home and you put your groceries away and all that stuff. And by the time you grab your phone again, you've gotten 20 messages or whatever, and that one message that you open just gets buried and you totally forget about it. I know that's happened to you, right? So I want you to assume that is what has happened to the people who didn't respond. It's a really good idea to just assume that's what happened and check in one more time. And this is really painless and easy and not pushy at all because we're just checking back in, right? So you might say something like, "Hey Susie, I just wanted to touch back and make sure that my last message made it to you okay. I'm excited to see if this is something you're interested in." You will definitely get responses this way, I promise you. Again, they might be yes, it might be a no, and it might be a no with a booking objection. So you'll just kind of work through those as those come in and keep updating them on your tracker. So that the way that this works when I'm doing my booking messages is I'll send out a blast of 25 messages. That's like my go-to number. And then the following day, before I send out another 25 messages, I will go back to the ones that I sent yesterday and update that on my tracker, circle back messages go out, and then I'll start on my next 25. Maybe it's 25 messages for you, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 5. The thing I do want to make sure that you're doing is if you still have openings in your calendar that you want to fill, particularly in the next month, so say it's April and you want to book up the rest of April, you should be doing this at least several times a week. I'm going to encourage you to try to do it every single day. And whether you're doing 5 messages a day or 25 messages a day, if you do this consistently, I promise you, you are going to get results. And sometimes you're going to message 20 people and no one will say yes. And then the next day you'll message 20 people and 5 people will say yes. And so you just want to keep on going. And over time, you will find that you have a pattern that works well for you, right? So just keep going with it. And if you ever feel discouraged or if you ever don't really know what to say, again, please reach out to your recruiter or to your director and we will help you. On the PC Dream Team page, I am going to include a Google Doc file or a PDF that shares all of the common booking objections that we hear in the business. I'm going to have this for you so that you can refer to it to help you with these answers. Now, if you're not on the PC Dream Team, you can get this downloaded on my Etsy shop, which is down in the description. So you can get that information as well. But if you're on the PC Dream Team, that is free for you to use. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know your success with this. Let me know if this was helpful and if you had any aha moments, because honestly, it brings me so much joy to see this helping you guys out with your business. So I just love hearing feedback. And if you have any great tips, I would love to hear them too. So be sure to comment that. And if you want more great information on how to have a successful business, particularly with Pampered Chef, please like and subscribe to this video so that you can get updated when I post some more information for you to enjoy. So thanks again. Have a great week. Good luck with your bookings, and I'll talk to you next time.